Hello there, good afternoon, actually good morning. You're welcome to Newsroom on GHOne television. I am Serwaa Amihere. Let's begin with our top stories. And coming up in the next hour, the National Food Suppliers Association backs government's decision to immediately halt exportation of grains over food insecurity concerns, describing the drastic move as appropriate. Also coming up, opposition NDC calls out the Electoral Commission on discrepancies in voters' registration. We'll hear more of their concerns. Also coming up, we find out if signing the Peace Pact is still relevant or a superficial solution to deeper issues. And later in business, we'll take you to Dambai, where female traders brave difficult conditions to secure goods for sale. We have details of these and many more coming up shortly. To stay. You're welcome once again to Newsroom on GHOne television. I am Serwaa Amihere. We're streaming on Facebook, we're streaming on YouTube, and we're streaming on X. Now, the dry spell being witnessed in the northern part of the country is threatening the country's food security. The attendant effect of the drought has led to drastic measures from the government in a bid to address the looming food crisis. Now, during a press conference on Monday, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Brian Champon, announced an immediate ban on the export of grains. He explained that the ban was to ensure the availability of crops for the domestic market amid the challenging weather conditions.
Rain over the past 2 months has severely impacted the planting season in many of the farming areas. Of the 8 regions, the northern region is the worst, with the upper east region being the least affected. Crops that were sown in anticipation of the rains have been left struggling without sufficient moisture, and there are fears of low yields and potential crop failures. These climatic conditions, as it rolls out more irrigation and water management schemes. The immediate interventions from now to January 2025. The following measures have been approved by government for implementation by the ministry to avert a food security crisis. With immediate effect, government is placing a ban on the export of grains, including maize, rice, soya bean, until the situation normalizes. This measure is essential to ensure the availability of these critical crops on the domestic market. Any farmer with stock and interested in selling should contact our district directorates across the country, our district aggregators, or the Directorate of Crops Ministry of Agriculture. This is to ensure that farmers do not suffer adversely from this ban.
Well, the National Food Supplies Association is backing the government's decision to immediately halt the exportation of grains following a dry spell recorded up north, threatening the country's food security. The government hopes that the ban will ensure the availability of crops for the domestic markets amidst the challenging weather conditions. However, this has threatened the livelihood of farmers nationwide. In the Dafiama Busi Isa district of the Upper West region, the dry spell has affected at least 800 peasant farmers. The focal person of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Lawi Bonzo Vincent, has been explaining the plight of the farmers.
Almost all our farmers, they are crying. So it's even this data is even better. So those days, farmers will go to the farm and come back and be crying. Even some to the extent that some people, the BP, they have sent to the hospital for order to manage their BP. It's a very terrible issue in Upper West, that DPI. It's very, very, very serious.
See, and how many farmers have been affected by this dry spell? And how many hectares of land are we talking about?
Yeah, for us here, we are not able to capture all the district, entire district. So our membership, that's the Peasant Farmers Association. So we can talk about our own. There are about 800 farmers that have been registered official with peasant farmers in the district. So these are the data that we are having. But we represent the entire farmers in the district. A lot of them, we couldn't even get the data. So now we are still compiling the list. But for now, we can talk about 800 farmers or our members that have been affected by the list. And then they go beyond the peasant farmers. Everybody, most of them, about 90% of the farmers in DBI is being affected.
Let's have a conversation on this. Francisca Mate is the head of research and applied meteorology at the Ghana Meteo. She joins me via phone. Stay with me. I'll be back after this. You're welcome back. We apologize for that. Still on the issue, the National Food Supplies Association is backing the government in its drastic move to ban export on grains due to the dry spell up north. According to the General Secretary, Patrick Efa, there is the need to focus on feeding citizens first. Patrick Efa joins us for more on this. Patrick, thank you very much for your time. But I am sure, while you back this, I'm sure that you have heard farmers also complain, because up north, at least in the Upper West region, we know that about 800 farmers have been affected. How do they come out of this? Hello, Patrick.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. The Food Suppliers Association has not as of yet made categorical statement to that effect. But what we are saying is that we support every measure that will sustain or bring sustainability of food. If there's no policy that has no negative or other effects, and this situation is not normal, and the occurrence of this is natural, that has come. So, therefore, what can the government do? The government has to come out with policy that will what? Help or support and also sustain food security in the country. Because we need to feed ourselves first before export. And the farmers, the little that they have or whatever they have harvested, we use that to feed the country. So we are of the view that if there is a problem or there's going to be shortage of food in Ghana, and the government finds it necessary to mobilize the internal one to feed ourselves first, my dear, I don't think anybody will object to that. We support every policy that will make sure that there is sustainability of food in Ghana. And the policy also, we hope that it will not negatively affect the masses. That's why in a country, in the law, even in the law, when there's a policy or when there's a problem or a situation, and that only few will benefit, the law will negate it. If there's something that happens and the government sees that only few people are going to benefit, then it won't be allowed because they consider the masses first.
But how do you respond to, Patrick, how do you respond to people who say that governments could have avoided this in the first place or could have been more proactive?
Of course, but you know, Ghana, for how many, for decades, for years, since time immemorial, we depend on the weather. We depend on the weather. So the dependency on the weather is the result of what we are facing. So this one, you can't, it's natural occurrence. That happened. Because you see, the farmers in the north, they were expected to plant about 2 months back. And they could not. And it's going to push the planting season forward. So if it doesn't rain from now going, it means by February, March next year, before maize from the north will start coming. Or some food and plants will start maturing. So that is the issue. So we are not behind the government that you know, but we are behind a policy that will sustain food, that will bring sustainability of food in Ghana. So we are saying that, well, we need to have food in Ghana. And that so that we'll be able to feed not only the schools, but everybody.
All right.
Yes, the farmers are, some of the farmers are complaining. It's true. But the government, I believe, has policies or some measures to cushion them. And I believe the country must be fed first before you send food outside. And the government too must go to their aid, of course. You shouldn't leave them behind, no. And I believe as we have farmers associations, they can organize themselves and then talk to the government. The Minister of Agriculture is a listening man, the President too. Everybody will listen to them. But for the food to have food shortage in Ghana, for us to suffer, please, the masses must be considered first before individuals.
Thank you very much, Patrick Ifa. He is the spokesperson for the National Food Suppliers Association, actually the General Secretary. Let's still have some more conversation on this. And Francisca Mate is the Head of Research and Applied Meteorology at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Francisca, thank you very much for your time. How did we get here, and how do you respond to people who say that we could have avoided it maybe?
Yes, hello.
Hello, Francisca.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, a bit better.
Okay, I don't know if you got my question, but I asked you.
Yes, I did what?
Okay. I'm asking you that how did we get here as a people, and how do you respond to those who say that governments could have been more proactive?
Pardon?
We apologize for that. We can't appear to have a smooth conversation with Francisca, but when we do, I will rework the lines, and when we do, we will bring you that conversation here on Newsroom. Now, let's cross over to social media and hear what people have been saying on this matter. Mrs. Sakwa.
Thank you, Serwaa. Well, we asked if the rise in cost of food is a concern to you with this imminent food shortage. Let's move straight over to Facebook, where Prof. Echal says, what happened to the Planting for Food and Jobs government program that you're threatening imminent Jalal, who is very concerned. We also have Diego. I tell you, we will all start selling, especially food. Abukari. When we said the system needs resetting, some said we need upgrading. Well, food prices have started their own. I have Rev Fada. The venue I buy Kenke, just yesterday I got there and was told there's no more 4 cedis unless 5 cedis and 7 Ghana cedis. I was like, how? Techimampa, the supposed food hub of... To Instagram, Nee says, all I will say is that give someone something to eat if you can. That's... I have X here, James. If there's anyone who isn't concerned, then I guess the person is a crocodile. That's what you had to tell us on social media. Continue to send us your messages on Instagram, on Facebook and on Twitter. My name is Nanama Akwa. Serwaa, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Akwa, for bringing us those comments. Away from peasant farmers and our food situation, let's do some education stories. And 6 invigilators are currently in the grip of the police for engaging in exam malpractices in the ongoing West Africa Secondary School Certificate examination. These invigilators from 4 different regions, that's the Bono region, the Western, the Central and Volta regions, were arrested for engaging themselves in different infractions, including answering questions for candidates. Joining me on the phone is the Director of Public Affairs at WAEC, GHOne Kapi, for more on this. John, thank you very much for speaking with us. What is the state of the persons who are being arrested? Are they still in custody? Have they been granted bail?
Good morning to your listeners. We reported them to the police. As we speak right now, we don't have any information as to whether they've been granted bail or not. But we at the laws of this country, I'm sure after 48 hours, they should be granted bail and be processed for court.
Okay, John, but this is not the first time this is happening. It appears that almost every year we hear these issues of teachers aiding students engage in exam malpractices. What is really the problem? Is it that WAEC isn't doing its job well, or you are not supervising these teachers well? What's going on?
Well, when we talk about examination malpractice, it's a multifaceted problem, and that also calls for, a multifaceted approach in order to curb it. Currently, as we speak, this is a kind of partnership between us and the Ghana Education Service. We do not have supervisory control over teachers, but then the Education Service tells us that these are personnel we are providing to do the vigilance supervision for you. Unfortunately, when we go to the field, we find out that a number of them, actually do not live up to expectation. So it is not about us not supervising them, but it is an attitudinal problem on the part of some individual teachers.
Right. And so moving forward, what is WAEC's plan?
Well, there are a number of options to us. One of the options would be simply to avoid the wholesale use of teachers for supervision and invigilation, and probably get in some kind of contractual agreement with some people, and then we pay them and we make sure that they do what we actually need them to do for us. Another option would be to do a lot more serialization, where questions that are for a particular person may not be the same for the next person sitting beside them. These are options, but in actual fact, we've not sat down to look at them in detail.
All right, thank you very much. GHOne Kapi is the Director of Public Affairs for WAEC. Let's have some more conversations on this. Joining me also via Zoom is the National Coordinator of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition, Benis Amihere Jeke. Benis, thank you very much for your time. You must be very worried about the situation, aren't you?
Yes, please. So I think from the beginning of the examination, we issued a statement cautioning all stakeholders to ensure that the examination is smooth. There is no any form of malpractices in the examination. But unfortunately, when we were monitoring the examination across the country, we realized that some teachers are engaging in malpractices by answering the questions for the students. And this is where it was a great disappointment to us, because these teachers are supposed to serve as role models for the students, and then they rather are supporting them to cheat in examinations. So we said that Ghana Education Service, the teacher union, should ensure that there is strict punishment for these teachers, so that it will serve as a deterrent to other people not to engage in examination malpractices, especially when you are a teacher. It was so disappointing to us.
What does this say? Hello, Benis, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
What does this say about the integrity of the exam as a whole?
Yes, so I'm sure that WAEC and the other agencies put in place all measures to ensure that the examination is smooth. But those teachers still wanted to have their way and do otherwise because of some monies that they've taken from parents, from the students. They were supposed to fulfill their mandate by helping them in the examination to cheat. So based on their own selfish interest, I think they embarked on these malpractices. And it's good that they are arrested. And then the bail should not be an ordinary bail if it is or it has been done. But rather, we are calling for very strict punishment for these teachers so that it doesn't repeat itself.
Thank you very much. Benis Mperejeke is the national coordinator of the Ghana National Education Campaign Coalition. Let's now bring you some election-related stories. The Volta Regional Secretary of the NDC, GHOne, is demanding answers from the Electoral Commission regarding irregularities detected in the voters' register. The party is questioning how some of its members, including the Deputy General Secretary, had their names missing from the register.
During a routine tour on the final day of the voter exhibition exercise, which ended on Tuesday, Volta Regional NDC Secretary GHOne told the media that several names of individuals who registered and voted in the 2020 elections had been removed from the register. This discovery was made when affected individuals, including his own deputy, checked their details during the exhibition.
These are not people who have just registered. People who registered in 2020 and voted in 2020 general election. Their names are not in the register as we speak. And this has affected even my deputy, the Deputy Regional Secretary, Bright Kwashi Eke, whose polling station is D033301 with voter identification number 904-500-5304. This is his voter's ID card, photocopy. He's one person who voted in the 2020 general election. But how come that his name is not in the current register? At what point has his name been deleted from the voters' register? These are things the Electoral Commission must come out to answer.
In 2020, the NDC in the Volta region accused the EC of deliberately removing or transferring registered voters to polling stations where they did not register, resulting in the disenfranchisement of numerous voters in Ketu South, Ketu North, Keta and Anlok constituencies. To ensure a credible register accepted by all political parties ahead of the December polls, GHOne called on the EC to address these concerns and several others.
If we want to have free, fair, transparent and credible election, it must begin with the voters' register. The moment the register is messed up and we can't trust this register, then we will not, tolerate that.
Well, the NDC has drawn the attention of the Electoral Commission to 5 discrepancies found in the provisional voter register that they received from the Commission. In an interview earlier with Star News, the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, disclosed that the discrepancies have rendered the register ineffective. We will engage him shortly, but actually, let's engage him now. Mr. Rashid joins me on the phone. Thank you very much. So, what are these discrepancies that you talk about?
As you rightly put it, by my regional secretary in Volta region, the discrepancies are so serious that it has rendered the register highly ineffective for any serious election. What kind of register that you can identify not less than 1,000 dead people are still embedded in that register. The register is bedeviled with our... Yes.
Rashid, are you able to reposition yourself because there's some feedback, so we are unable to hear you? Rashid. We apologize for that, but that's, you heard the Director of Elections and IT for the NDC, Deputy Director actually, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, saying that they have identified some discrepancies with the voters register that was sent to them by the Electoral Commission, and that makes the register ineffective, and we're trying to reach him, have a conversation with him. Actually, we have him now. Dr. Rashid Tanko, I believe that you can hear me now. Hello, Dr. Tanko. Can you please unmute yourself?
We have identified 5. Yes, I've unmuted. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I'm saying that we have identified 5 thematic crises that are embedded in the register. The first serious crisis in the register is that we have uncovered mass transfer of people without the knowledge of the electorate. Some people have been transferred from one constituency to another constituency without the knowledge of those voters. Another one we have uncovered is that there is expunge of people's name from the register. People like what my regional secretary has just put out in Volta region. In fact, it's widespread. You are holding your voter ID card, you go to check and your name is not in the register. They have removed it. And so what is the essence of that? People have voted in 2020, now they can't find their names in the register. It's a serious issue. Apart from that, we have seen that those who are qualified to vote, they have found their names in the exception list, a multiple voter register. Exception list is meant for dead people and people whose challenges were upheld. Their names are expunged from the register and put in the exception list. So when you find somebody's name in there, it means the person cannot vote come December 7th. And this is not correct. This is illegal. It's an anomaly. And so we are saying that all these things, in fact, there are a lot of discrepancies. We have written to them, expecting a response from them, so that we'll sit with them and we'll address these discrepancies.
So you say that you've written to them, expecting a sit down to address these concerns. Have they responded?
As we speak now, the Electoral Commission has not responded. They received the letter on Monday and wrote back to us that they have acknowledged receipt of the letter, but they will respond to us appropriately. As we speak now, they have not responded, and we are still waiting because we don't want to discuss the discrepancies in the public domain. The right forum to do the discussion is at the Electoral Commission. That is why we have written to them.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. He's the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the NDC. You're still watching Newsroom here on GHOne television and still on elections. The flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has pledged to fix the poor road infrastructure in the Ashaiman constituency. Now, this comes as some residents of Ashaiman Newtown expressed their frustration over being neglected in the distribution of the national cake. This sentiment arises after repeated calls, petitions and demonstrations by the residents for road repairs and the provision of potable water have gone unanswered. Speaking at a rally at Ni Amwe Park in Ashaiman, Newtown, as part of phase 1 of his Greater Accra campaign tour, the former president assured that the next NDC government will address the situation and create jobs for the youth in the area. My colleague Abdul Hanan Adam was with the vice president, actually the former president, and has the story.
Has a lot of economic potentials, but lack a lot of basic social infrastructure, including potable water, road infrastructure, amongst others. A lot of the youth here lament that this lack of social infrastructure is affecting their economic livelihood, including lack of job opportunities.
Now, most of the youth here in this area, they are not doing anything. If Okada, you're not doing Okada, then you go to construction, and there's no development going on right now. You go to construction field to go and do anything.
For no many because public facilities like like bad road. It's a it's also why the 2 pipe more a chance no baby sign.
The only problem I have is the road. It affects me in so many ways. Not even me alone, but everybody here, because of the bad road. Sometimes when we are going for an event or maybe meeting or something, it delays us, which is very bad.
But John Dramani Mahama, the flag bearer of the opposition National Democratic Congress, who visited the area as part of his Greater Accra Regional Campaign, assured the people of the area that if elected into office come December 7, 2024, he would ensure that roads are constructed in the area.
Mekaya Abrayo Wabemu, Anye Ejuma wo Ashama High Street. Ye na ye fefe kama. And then so they Kwashe High Street. Nobia yadia ajamawa. Maintenance kakra tokroba mua o be fele no eno so ntimi nye ene high street no ensem fata ashaman enso say na meka no nyame adom ndc beba ye beba be siesie kwan na mamo.
Well, my colleague Abdul Hanan Adam has been touring the Greater Accra with John Mahama, and he joins us via Zoom on more on his campaign tour. Hanan, thank you very much for joining us. Where exactly is the team now, and what has the former president been saying?
Well, Serwaa, the campaign team is currently in the Amasaman constituency, specifically at GHOne, where the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress, John Dramani Mahama, currently addressing a community endeavor of chiefs and people of the area, where he is addressing some challenges that the community faces. The chiefs of the area really concerned about the unavailability of a market and also health centers. You also raise the issue of the collapsed wage line, which has rendered a lot of the youth here unemployed. And so he's currently addressing that particular issue here at GHOne Lorry Park.
All right. Thank you very much, Hanan, for bringing us these updates from the camp of John Dramani Mahama, who is still on his tour of the Greater Accra region. You're still watching Newsroom here on GHOne television. The chairman of the opposition NDC, Johnson Isedu Nketia, has firmly stated that the party will not sign any peace pact that would leave its supporters vulnerable to extrajudicial killings again in the upcoming elections. The NDC has refused to sign the peace pact to commit to peace in the December 7 presidential and parliamentary elections, citing killings of 8 Ghanaians during the 2020 election without prosecution of the culprit and the bloody Ayawaso West Wugon by-election violence.
Chimai, Nequano, at the Saturday one Kumai. And until the Ayaka, they say, Nipadia Pauia, Uchime Kumnika, and Fasu Kodia Koya, then Nipa Yakuku Momono. Nipa Yadisanya Bransano, Wawa Koyu, Auru Nipa, Yasia Kumuamo. Chiwamu Fakwajina Branim, the Ghana for Wuru say, Nipa Kumunya de Pa, what's a man Chiwamo? Now Bukra Graduolo, Elashi Fofra Baba, what's a man family party for Kom, Namen Krata say, Yakutu Abo, Wamudi Wamun Sabeku Mochi, now Mata say, Yenya on Neo Kumia, Yanyanosa, and Untia Busha form. Yentia, the same Krata, Basiano. Montina, the same Krata. Krata. Now we'll be away with Guinea. One year, I could not say, you couldn't be back crying. As I cried, I said, yes, Kumo, Minside, and the Kumo.
Well, the Peace Council has called on Christian leaders to be circumspect with their prophecies and pronouncements when commenting on political issues. At a dialogue with prophets in the Greater Accra region ahead of the 2024 elections, Chairman of the Peace Council, Reverend Dr. Ernest Edujimfi, disclosed that the Peace Council is currently working on the demands of the NDC over its decision and to not sign the Peace Pact.
Pentecostal and charismatic churches have grown steadily over the past 3 decades in Ghana and also worldwide, and so have its leaders. As a result, your religious voices, ideas, and actions have a profound impact on society and its politics. Some politicians are therefore doing everything to court your attention to ensure that your influence promotes their cause. Therefore, the phenomenon of election prophecies is gaining attention and becoming a matter of concern since the Fourth Republic. Election prophecies have been described by some researchers as, I quote, pre-election declaration in the public sphere relating to the outcome of national elections. And I'm quoting from Isaki, who's writing in 2018. Ministers of the gospel. In many countries, religion has played a significant role either negatively or positively. Either way, they both have repercussions on the people. In the same way, religious utterances have had a major impact on global politics. Religious utterances can lead to increased tension between different groups and can become a major source of human rights violation, breakdown in social cohesion, and threaten the stability of a nation.
Meanwhile, popular prophet and founder of the True Word Prophetic Fire Ministries, Prophet Nigel Gacy, has accused the National Peace Council of only being active during elections, citing some prominent cases in Ghana, which he felt that the council had been silent. He was commenting on the debate on signing a peace pact and expressed his reservations about the attack on the clergy, but urged the Peace Council to bring politicians to order.
We cannot put the laws of Ghana in the hands of one so-called politician who feels superior or human than everybody. So my father said, my senior father said, peace cannot be found in the van. And I told the NDC that they should not sign the peace accord. The NDC, National Democratic Congress, His Excellency Dr. President Mahama should not sign the peace accord because it is as though the Peace Council of Ghana just favor just a few. It is as though the Peace Council of Ghana is in the pocket of this current regime. It cannot be so. We are all Ghanaians. We are all Ghanaians, and anything Ghanaian that is Ghanaian must be supported by all Ghanaians. So Peace Council. Before I came, I put up a post on my page, on my Facebook page, and I said, I'm going to be the Ghana Peace Council. I told you that when you go to my page, if it's 100, 99% of the people are saying that Peace Council is not working. So again, because of Papa here, I'm restricted.
security analyst Dr. Adam Buddha is questioning the impact of the Peace Pact on previous elections, saying that research needs to be conducted to assess its impact on elections, since all previous elections have been characterized with violence even after signing the document. He said that apart from the optics that make it appear to be binding and prevent violence, it has not been useful over the years.
Apart from the optics, apart from making it look like once a peace pact is signed, then people unilaterally or people agree that there won't be violence. And so as far as I'm concerned, probably somebody would have to conduct some research since we started signing these peace pacts or agreements to see whether anytime we signed it, it's probably made people become more civil or politicians becoming civil. I'm not too sure. I think it is the other way around. I don't think it is the case that once it is signed, people then begin to be more civil. I don't think so, because then until recently when IGP Dampare he was appointed as the IGP, all by-elections have been characterized by or with violence, including Ayawaso West Wagon. And so where were the peace pacts that were signed? And so as far as I'm concerned, it's almost like let's sign it, and then yet when there is confusion, let's not talk about it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not too sure the impact of a peace pact, if you ask me. I'm not too sure. In referencing it to our situation, I'm not too sure what the impact is now. You cannot put in place a law that will, by extension, require me to sign a peace pact. It will be very difficult. I haven't seen that anywhere. You come to that arrangement through dialogue and negotiation. So we can't put in a law to do that. But what we can rather do is to get the National Peace Council give them more powers instead of the advisory role.
And that'll be it for Election Hub. Stay with us. After the break, we have more. Welcome back to Newsroom on GHOne television. I am Serwaa Amihere. The Amihere Osaji Farmway Penny has installed a new chief at Chebi Akwadum in the Eastern region, 8 years after the demise of the former chief, Berima Pobi Asumening II. With pomp and pageantry, various dignitaries and traditional rulers came together to witness the installation of the new chief of Akwadum, who is pledging to ensure development in the town.
A newly installed chief who is known in private life as Kwabena Anthony Dankwa, a 40-year-old accomplished businessman, hails from the Akwadum Asuna royal clan under the Achim Ebuakwa traditional area. He will now bear the stool name Berima Pobi Asumenin III. The installment ceremony, conducted by a delegation from the Achim Ebuakwa Traditional Council on behalf of the Amihere, marked the official recognition of Berima Pobi Asumenin III as the chief of Chebi Akwadum after the seat remained vacant for 8 years. He will undergo various traditional rituals before coronation. He will be kept for 8 days to undergo various rituals and traditional activities before coronation. The Amihere's representative Nana Ba Kwachiajiman urged the newly installed chief to focus on uniting the youth, especially as the December 7 general election approaches. He also advised the youth to avoid being lured by the desire for quick wealth. Nana Asiedu Bekoin, the Amihere's Akwansrahene, emphasized the importance of the installment to Ochiman, noting that the installation of a new chief would bring unity, hope and development to the youth of Chebi Akwadum.
Akwadum kono da wa cheda ne achiame apeja Berima Pobi Asumenin that say e punto na ko bia so punto ya o ya de abedi ade na so de punto wona so if you to say simple sabe say Akwadum ku atete a na Berima Pobi Asumenin abai de de betumi de Akwadum man eni mu babu e mu ira eni ko ni ye no edi ba kosi because the pejano no eni ebu say say kuro no apano.
However, the Asune Busapenyin of Chebi Akwadum, Chum Ampofu, raised concerns about the ongoing destruction of water bodies in the area due to illegal mining activities. Chum Ampofu appealed to the government to create alternative job opportunities for the youth to help address the issue.
William Furiata, JB Dankwa. Akwaje no mu ko school be bro no ne usi no ne ade. E no mo so ligina ma. JB plano. E na juma no ko di. Me san se ya tun fa kra na nanu so we pejapade. E de amomo e ma etuntonti. E ko na e de asamba.
Despite efforts by the Amihere to combat the menace, illegal mining continues to thrive.
Well, the 2024 general election, stakeholders are pushing for transparency before, during and after the polls. Amidst heated campaign promises and some political parties serving notice not to sign the Peace Pact, President of the Academic City University, Professor Fred, wants the electioneering process to be free, fair and smooth. He spoke at the Mandela Washington Fellowship's 10th anniversary conference here in Accra.
The Mandela Washington Fellowship is a flagship program of the U.S. Department of State's Young African Leaders Initiative, which brings together young African leaders from various sectors to develop leadership skills, foster cross-cultural understanding, and create a network of future leaders committed to creating change on the continent. Since its inception in 2014, the fellowship has empowered over 7,000 emerging leaders from sub-Saharan Africa with tools to drive social, economic, and political progress in their communities. At the 10th anniversary celebration of the fellowship, President of the Academic City University, Professor Fred Makbagaluri, called for a transparent political terrain for the country.
I'm worried about what I saw at Ejura in the last elections, and I take that civil duty of casting a ballot to elect who our leaders ought to be without anybody having to die in that process. Nobody should riot. We don't need to deploy military into our polls to intimidate anyone.
On her part, U.S. Ambassador to Ghana, Her Excellency Virginia Palmer, urged the government to deepen democracy and not to discriminate against individual groups.
And we talked about the need for more democracy and for figures like George Washington, who talked about term limits and the need to honor those term limits, and Mandela, who talked about how it's important not to discriminate against individual groups because that's bad for democracy, it's bad for stability, it's bad for prosperity. So I think those values that are Mandela Washington Fellow values are incredibly important in Ghanaian politics.
Let's now bring you the latest in the world of business. For that, it's not time for sport yet. On business, the bustling markets in Ghana's southern cities and towns brim with fresh produce that nourishes the nation. These goods, cultivated in remote areas, arrive at our doorsteps due to the relentless effort of traders who bridge the gap between farms and urban markets. But have you ever considered the sacrifices and challenges that these traders endure to make this possible? Well, my colleague Peter Kwao Adato takes you behind the scenes, spending a night at the Dambai market in the following report.
The bustling markets of Ghana's cities are teeming with fresh produce sourced from remote farming communities. Each week, determined women embark on grueling journeys to locations such as Dambai, Ketekrachi, Yeji, among others, braving difficult conditions to secure goods for resale. These traders sleep in the open at these markets, facing harsh weather and discomforts, all to ensure that our kitchens are stocked. The obstacles they face are daunting. Inadequate shelter, unpredictable weather, and long hours of waiting, yet they persist, driven by the goal of maintaining a steady supply of essential foods. While their commitment to feeding the nation is unwavering, the struggles they endure often go unnoticed. Peter Kwao Adato spent a night with these resilient women at Dambai markets to capture their untold stories.
And I engage the equity so I bet my high hotel and some transportation as I am by a bedding. It's any old Dana, so I 12 cities are no Jala, and yes, and so back high.
Let's now bring you the latest in the world of business by Monica Bukhari.
So while you mentioned business, I stand for sport.
Business.
Yeah, I think you're loving business. Anyway, it's time for sports. And the Black Princesses yesterday engaged in a friendly game with South Korea. I'll bring you details after this breather. Now, South Korea came from behind to secure a 2-2 draw against the Black Princesses of Ghana on Tuesday night in their friendly encounter in Bogota. The Black Princesses conceded a penalty just 15 minutes into the game, and the Asians capitalized on the advantage to score the opening goal of the game. Yusuf Basige's side were leveled moments later after Stella into the game. Now both teams head into the first half break with a goal each. Ghana scored 13 minutes after recess when Jennifer Owusua gave them the lead for the first time in the game. The African gold medalist looked certain to claim a first win in 2 games, but South Korea won another sports kick which was converted successfully to make it 2-2. This game, however, forms part of Black Princesses' preparation ahead of the U20 FIFA World Cup. Now, head coach Yusuf Basige of the Black Princesses said his girls are gradually acclimatizing to the Colombia 2024 FIFA World Cup tournament and will be ready when they take on Austria on the 2nd of September in their Group E opener. Let's take a listen.
Well, I'll say that we are acclimatizing very well because having the high altitude in mind, we decided that we push the girls to have enough stamina so that they can overcome the altitude. And now they are responding very well, which is quite impressive. We are not being carried away by even the draw that we played against Mexico. We are so focused and looking forward to playing the main tournament. It was a very good exercise for us, though we had wanted to play a medium profile game before that match because it was a high profile match. But they are also contenders in the World Cup. And we played them well, and then we're very happy for the game that we played.
That will be it, but do join us at 1 p.m. here on GHOne and Star FM. That will be it. My name is Monica Bukai, but do stay. We have GHOne up next.
Afro-pop, Afrobeat, Afrofusion artists Lali and Lola have successfully carried out their Fire and Flow listening session in Accra over the weekend. The listening party, becoming the second attempt since their debut into the music industry since September 2021, stood as an exceptional work of art. time. The news team will be back at 6:30 for News Tonight. I am Serwaa Amihere. Have a good afternoon.